Surely you know the cartoon Sinbad that we watched and became attached to when we were young. Do you remember this episode? End of the 12th century, a group of European soldiers who were fanatics of Christianity and hated Arabs and Muslims went to Jerusalem in disguise under the pretext of protecting Christian tourists. Known as the Knights Templar or Knights Templar, these soldiers were bloody savages of such a degree that they would kill anyone they found in their sights. A young sheikh's child is pregnant. These soldiers were very strong and did not possess an iota of mercy or fear in their hearts. Their power was not only military and physical, but they also had political influence over the majority of the thrones of Europe. But everything changed after information spread that the Knights Templar had abandoned Christianity, and the news reached Europe. At that time, King Philip IV was in power in France, and news of the Knights Templar and blasphemous acts came to him. The telegrams that reached the king said that the knights carried out secret practices that began with heresy and ended with devil-worshipping rituals and obscene pagan and sexual practices inside the temple and under the cellars. Christian sacrilege has also reached to gain influence, control, and pleasure. King Philip ordered their immediate arrest and severe torture. During the trial in October, 1,307 knights confessed to worshipping an idol called his mouth. More than 100 different charges were brought against the Knights Templar, including sexual relations, homosexuality, sodomy, and also spitting and urinating on the cross. Here the question is, who is Pachomius, who was silently worshipped by the Knights Templar? He is a god baptized by the Knights Templar, and he is a being in whom all opposites of evil and good, male and female, meet. Thus, it is a being half human and half animal with human hands and feet of a man, while its upper half is female, while its head is that of a goat and it has the wings of a bird. Ptolemy is considered in the ideology of those who worship him as a symbol of balance, and he represents the sum of the entire universe and all the forces corresponding to it, and he is a god for some, while others worship him as a demon. Since 856, the name of his mouth has been associated with the image of the seven drawn by any ancestral term for the first time, which is the image that spread widely, and became the official image of Satan silently according to the Jewish Talmud, which is the holiest of Jewish books, and was silently considered one of the highest-ranked devils, a loyal servant and loyal to Satan. Satan gave Peter a mission, which is to mislead mankind and incite them from worshipping the one God to the path of worshipping the great Satan, Satan. He added that he is not an ordinary devil, but he is considered the eldest son of Satan, and this is what made the Knights Templar worship him, prostrate themselves and approach him by all abnormal and dirty means. The Knights Templar were sentenced to death, and the method of execution was painful or too slow. They were burned alive in front of a large crowd of people. Says Peter Patna in his book Knights Templar and Legend. In the year 1987 in the trial of the Knights Templar, one of their main charges was their supposed worship of the head of an idol known as concepts, changing their description of the crucifixion of Satan from confession to confession, as some Templars denied any knowledge of it. Others described it under torture as either a severed head, a cat, or a head with three faces. The allegations of a fetish called a unique imprint were developed for the first time in the Inquisition courts of the Knights Templar, and they became an illusion used in magic, sorcery and astrology starting from the 19th century, after Satan's worship came out silently from the secret to the public. A special church was established for him in San Francisco, named after the Church of Satan, and they took the name of its logo and placed a very large statue of him in front of the church. This satanic church has published teachings and commandments called survival commandments, and the followers of Satan say that these commandments are a revelation from Pachomius personally, numbering 7 commandments. Indulge in lusts and enjoy the rest of the races, for you are better than them, and the devil protects your back against you with dirty wisdom, and you do not have time to think about the comfort of others, and be selfish and do not fall in love, for love is for the weak, avenge and look or have mercy on anyone. You are just an animal, not a human being, so I hear your animal desires as best I can. Do not believe in religions. She who stands in the way of your happiness does not care about his sins. The devil is your arm in these sins, and he will never hold you accountable for them. Flash character has been used in many cinematic works, even cartoons, and anime, including those we were brought up on. On her, we are young, such as the 52-episode Japanese anime Sinbad, which was based on the stories of 1001 Nights, and tells the story of an adventurous sailor from Baghdad and the hardships and troubles he faces in his adventures. As in one of the episodes, Sinbad met an old man of blue color on a deserted island. This Cartoon Network series Adventure Time or Finger Time, which most children watch. The strange thing about Smith's story, which I discovered during my research on this character, is that according to historians, the first mention of the word buff in history was in a letter he wrote in the year 1098. This character is considered one of the saddest characters in the Crusades. This letter describes the siege of Antioch during the First Crusade, where it was mentioned earlier that the Turks called out loudly against Pachomius, and he said the letter, and when the next day dawned, they cried out to God silently and prayed in our hearts silently to God. Then we attacked them and forced us all out of the city walls. Most historians believe that the word Paphos refers to the Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, because the pronunciation of silence and Muhammad are relatively similar, and if someone hears it from a distance, he may not differentiate between the two terms. One of the historians named the First Crusade, and it can be mentioned that Robo used the term Paphos for the Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, and the word Paphos Maria was used in mosques. The name silently later appeared in 195 in the poems of O.K.E., Tanya Senhar Zubair, and Lucy Buster's Picard by True Power attesting around the year 250. A poem of grief and lamentation was written over the defeat of the Seventh Crusade in the year 1249, which was against Egypt. In this poem, the word fingerprint was used again to refer to the Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. Devo Beat is also the title of one of the 4 surviving chapters of Oki's second translation of Ramlun's earliest known work, Liber della de Caterina Burrell. And all this lying and slander was attributed to the messenger, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, because the leaders of the Crusades and the Gates used to view the Prophet Muhammad and Islam as their enemy, and they viewed it as a religion derived from Satan, but rather they believed that now an idea or the Antichrist is in fact the Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace be upon him, and he forbade it from that. These attempts were and still are to distort the image of Islam in the eyes of Europeans and prevent them from embracing this new religion.